President Trump left the G7 summit in Canada early to focus on the crisis in the Middle East. And Russian drones and missiles have killed and injured dozens of people in strikes in Ukraine overnight. Good morning. I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. President Trump says he is seeking a, quote, real end to Iran's nuclear ambitions. But as NPR's Mara Liasson reports, it's not clear how he plans to accomplish that.
Israel wants U.S. military help to destroy Iran's underground nuclear facility, but Trump campaigned on keeping the U.S. out of foreign wars. On his way home from the G7 meeting in Canada, Trump told reporters he may send Vice President Vance and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to negotiate with Iran's foreign minister. Asked to explain his social media post calling on Tehran's citizens to evacuate, Trump said, quote, "There's a lot of bad things happening there." Trump also said he didn't think Iran would strike U.S. assets in the region because of the risk of retaliation.
I think they know not to touch our troops.
Are you sending
We'll find out.
Trump has repeatedly said his bottom line is that Iran must never get a nuclear weapon. Mara Liasson, NPR News.
Russia's latest attack on Ukraine is again one of its largest. The attack killed at least 15 civilians and injured nearly 100 others in the capital, Kyiv. NPR's Joanna Kakissis reports the attack lasted more than 9 hours.
Ukrainian air defense units spent hours trying to shoot down drones and missiles. By sunrise, the air smelled burnt as thick plumes of smoke rose from parts of the city. At least a dozen sites were hit, many of them residential buildings. Videos posted by Ukrainian authorities showed the collapse of part of an apartment complex. Emergency workers are trying to pull survivors from the rubble. The strikes come as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is at the G7 summit in Canada, pushing for stronger sanctions on Russia. Joanna Kakissis, NPR News, Kyiv.
A federal judge has ruled that the National Institutes of Health illegally terminated about 800 research grants. These focused on topics associated with diversity, transgender issues, and other research areas disfavored by the Trump administration. From member station GBH, Craig Lamolt has more.
The federal judge ruled the NIH's terminations of those grants were arbitrary and capricious, and he ordered the agency to start paying for that research again. Attorney Rachel Mirapol of the ACLU represented plaintiffs in the case.
The judge looked at the agency's explanation for why it would not fund these categories of research and said that they were wholly without reason and without reasoning.
The judge went on to say the government's actions in the case amounted to racial discrimination and discrimination against the LGBTQ population, saying he's never seen anything like this in his 40 years on the bench. And he invited the plaintiffs' attorneys to offer evidence of harm to those populations so he could weigh in on that. For NPR News, I'm Craig Lamolt in Boston.
The Trump administration is preparing to make its travel ban even bigger. President Trump may put restrictions on visitors from 36 more nations. That's on top of bans or restrictions already in place on visitors from another 19 countries. The new travel restrictions could happen by August. A doctor who is accused of supplying actor Matthew Perry with the drug ketamine is going to plead guilty in the case. An autopsy found the drug played a role in Perry's death in 2023. Dr. Salvador Plasencia and 4 other people were accused last year in the case. Charleston, South Carolina, is remembering one of the nation's most heinous hate crimes. NPR's Debbie Elliott reports it's been 10 years since a white supremacist killed 9 black worshipers at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Events at the church this week will honor the memory of the Emmanuel 9 and the 5 people who survived Dylan Roop's racist attack during Wednesday night Bible study on June 17, 2015. Emmanuel's Minister of Music, Wayne Singleton, says even a decade later, the pain feels fresh.
You wouldn't expect something like this to happen in your sanctuary. This is one of the safest places you should feel safe at all times. And to have someone to violate that sanctity, it hurts.
The shooter, intent on starting a race war, targeted Mother Emanuel, the oldest black congregation in the South. He's now on federal death row. Debbie Elliott, NPR News, Charleston.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.